There's our green fried tomatoes. Welcome back, guys, to my YouTube channel. Today we're going to cook some more vegetables from the garden. As we get later in the season, I've had to take out a lot of things, and I've taken out several of the heirloom tomatoes, and I've ended up with quite a few green tomatoes. And we love fried green tomatoes, and I hope you do too. I'm going to fix them a little different probably than most people, but I'm sure there's probably hundreds if not thousands of recipes. Everyone tends to cook things the way they like them. So first we have some flour here. We're going to add to that some paprika. That's more for coloring than it is anything else. Now, those of you that have watched my videos know that I love the flavor of herbs. So this is a blended mixture here. This is rosemary, thyme, sage, oregano, basil, marjoram, and savory. And if you wonder what it's called, it's actually called Italian seasoning. I'm not going to put a whole lot of that in there, but I do want some of it. And of course I have pink Himalayan sea salt, and I'm going to put some salt in it. And we love our black pepper, so I am definitely putting black pepper in my mix. So what I'm going to do here is stir all of this together. Once I get this stirred, I'm going to get our buttermilk, which is already in a bowl. I'm going to get that out of the refrigerator. Okay. I can tend to make a mess, but that's me. All right. So I have that set here. Now, I'm going to set my pan on the stove and get my oil heated up. And I am going to basically deep fry these. Now, I don't want them to be greasy, so the oven, my oven is on 250 degrees. And as they come out, I'm going to put them on this little rack that will set on here. And as I'm cooking them, I'm going to lay them on this rack and put them in a 250 degree oven. And you might say, well, why are you doing that? At 250 degrees, it's not going to overcook them, but that oil is going to stay hot, and it will tend to drip off and accumulate on the bottom of the pan. They'll be less greasy that way. I do the same thing when I'm frying chicken. I always like to fry my chicken, put it on a tray and put it in the oven and let it set for a while. All right, this is my buttermilk. I prefer buttermilk. Everybody has their own preference. Now, to my buttermilk, I've got two eggs here. I'm going to beat those into my buttermilk. This is going to be my wet mixture that's going to hold this all together. And my tomatoes have already been cleaned and washed. So, now my buttermilk has a beautiful pale yellow color, and that's because of the egg yolk. I want to make sure I get that mixed very thoroughly. I'm quite sure everybody does this differently, but I'm going to put half of my mixture from my flour right here, and I'm going to dredge my tomatoes in that. I'm going to cut this way. That's the thing about growing heirlooms. They're never a perfect shape, but that's perfectly okay. All right. I'm going to slice this probably about a ½ inch thick, and I'm going to put it over here and dredge it in my flour. And they may not all be the same size. That's not going to hurt anything. It's not going to affect the flavor any at all. I'm going to let them sit there in that flour and let it absorb into the tomato moisture in the tomato. Now, being that these are green tomatoes, they're not going to have a lot of moisture, but there is some sap there. And that'll just help that tomato hold a little tighter. Ideally, you would keep one hand for dipping and the other hand clean. So now, I'm going to drop these over into my buttermilk here. And I'm going to let those sit there for just a little bit. I don't want to get too many. Pull that one apart. It'll taste just as well. So the next thing, this hand's clean, this hand's dirty. I'm going to take and re-dip these into my flour. Gonna pat them down. Lift some of that flour up, turn it over. Okay, we'll do a couple more. I'm going to go ahead and get enough ready to put the first batch on. Alright, that's what they look like when they're dredged. I will knock a little of that off as I put them in my oil. Okay, this is what my tomatoes look like. My oil, I can tell, is a good heat. So, to keep from burning myself, I'm going to dust off the majority of this, lay it over into my spider. Oh, that's what we wanted to see. We wanted to see them dancing around and sizzling in there. I did turn my heat down to medium. I had it up a little high getting it started. That one's coming out. And so is this. My oil might have been just a little too hot. But remember, these are going to continue to cook a little bit in the oven. Now you might say, why didn't you get a spoon rest? Well, a spoon rest doesn't fit in the dishwasher as well as a plate does. And I like to do things that are easy. All right, we've got another one here. We're going to pop it down in our oil. And I'm going to take some of these others here, get them dredged here a little bit. I believe it's warmed down enough that if I'm careful, I can just drop them over in there. I do not want to get too many in there at one time. Now, I will say that double dredging them is going to make them very, very crispy. All right, while those two are finishing up, these are going to go in the oven. Okay, if you notice there, I'm cooking these probably on a medium low. And these are just about ready to come out of the pan and go back in the oven with the others. Now, once I put this last bunch on the tray, we're at 250 now. I'm going to turn that temperature down to about 175. Set on that tray and drain for about 15 minutes once I turn the temperature down. There's our green fried tomatoes. They've come out of the oven. And as I was telling you, a lot of that grease accumulates in that pan. That pan's very greasy. All right, it's time for me to try a bite here and tell you how it tastes. As I said, my favorite way, one of my favorite ways is to drizzle a little. Looks like I got a lot more than a little ranch dressing. So let me try it here and tell you how it tastes. That is So good. A plate full of this with some ranch dressing for dipping would make such a great finger food at a party. Sorry, I just had to have that other bite. Again, we appreciate you for coming by and watching us on our channel. We hope that you've enjoyed this video. If you've enjoyed it, please share it with others. And if you're not already a subscriber, please subscribe. We need your support. Thank you, and have a wonderful and blessed day.